7:10. Let's go back to the KUAM News Zoom room. We're bringing on former two-term Governor Carl T.C. Gutierrez, who is currently the president of the Guam Visitors Bureau. Yes, of course, we're going to touch on tourism and the economy and all that stuff with Uncle Carl this morning. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning. Morning, everyone.
Good
Jason,
morning.
Rena, and Chris.
Good morning, Gov.
Good morning.
Nice shirt. Thanks for joining us.
It's so wonderful listening to Margaret Hattori Chima. Well, I think she's a Paris clan. I think if Paul was a dad, that she was my classmate at Agana Junior High. But that Paris clan's always been the smart clan.
I guess let's get right into it, Uncle Carl. I want to kind of, and we'll get to the tourism and the economy, but I just wanted to kind of get your take on the current situation that we're all living under, this lockdown, where we're seeing, the spike in not just the positive cases, Governor, but also the deaths, right? And the numbers, although they are not as large as they were maybe last week, that's partly because, well, mostly because we're doing half the amount of tests. So just kind of sitting in this situation we're in now, what's your take on it as a two-term governor? And people say this all the time, oh, Carl Gutierrez, he's the disaster governor. So your perspective is always very insightful for us. So I kind of want to give you the floor and just tell us what's your take on it when you go around? I mean, if you do go around, what are people saying and what's your feeling on everything that we're just dealing with right now in this PCOR 1 lockdown pandemic?
Well, if you can imagine that my job, GVB CEO and president, I interact primarily with the one side of the community that has been clamoring for opening up the businesses and get the economy going, and so that's what I hear from. And of course, I've always been put on a spot because I also try to advocate for that. And but when we see and they do have some really great arguments. Just now recently they're putting a pact together to be able to bring their voices louder to the one agency that might be able to hold public hearings and see what's going on and if there's a better way to take this lockdown to the next level. But when you see that in the last 3 months, 15 people committed suicide, I mean, that thing has to be taken into consideration as well. And I know the governor has the hardest job to be able to take care of this island right now. So I don't want to second guess her. I know that there's a big problem in not opening up our economy, but you can't open it up unless we flatten the curve and bring down the people, that are rather get the people to understand what is going on and what needs to be done. And everybody must be willing to participate and cooperate. Because every day, 50 at least is the average from what I hear over the last week of positives. And that thing can still, exponentially grow. And hopefully that if it does happen to grow, that we all get that herd immunity people are talking about, that the entire island would be then hopefully immune to it. But it's going to take several months. And I know that with JTB, right now, they're not even booking any more flights for passengers until November 1st. So we have all this opportunity right now, and Jerry Paris and our crew who, are looking at a budget cut from $22 million to $6 million is what we're going to be operating under. Originally, it was $9 million, but we relented and allowed the finance committee to take another $2.9 million out to be able to balance the budget, and that for us to get that money back in April 1st when we go out there and refinance our hot bonds, which was promised to us, but unfortunately the oversight chair removed that provision to have us move forward for February reissuance of the hot bonds. And so now we're operating with $6 million without any more money to be able to work except to keep GVB open. And we're doing the best we can. We're doing a lot of things in-house, branding, marketing, and we cut off all the contracts that we have been giving out to the private sector to do that. We are now rediscovering our own talents in there that had always been there to be able to do this marketing and branding. And I look forward to this pandemic and the PCOR 1 being lifted because we have brought down and flattened the curve. And it's terrible right now that that's who we have to deal with. But we're not going to sit back and not take the opportunity to do what we can in solving the flooding problem. For example, at Tumon Bay, well, there's a downtime here, and been working closely with Vince Ariola, Jesse Garcia at Public Works. They are going to hopefully give us $50,000 to help us since we don't have those funds anymore. And it is the responsibility of Public Works to be able to take care of those situations anyway. Almost $4 million is going to Parks and Rec from our budget, and hopefully we can work together to spruce down the island, and not only at Tumon, but all the various areas that the tourists go to. Take this opportunity to do that, and with this inclement weather right now that we're facing, we're kind of slowed down, but we're not going to stop to take this opportunity to move around the assets that we have that are being covered up by the debris and trash that you see around. And I think Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio has really did a lot to remove some of the homeless people, and now we're not as focused on that issue, but we're making headway, and I'm just asking the people of Guam, please take heed of what the governor is trying to do in protecting this island from any further deaths, not only by the COVID, but by the depression that sets in when people are being evicted from their apartments, or just the stress and of not being able to get out of their homes. And so that's what we need to do as a community. And if there's anything that can be done, is to bring confidence out to the community. And the governor is working very hard to do that. I know that if you're a critic, I think there's a way to criticize, maybe just come into an ad loop and speaking with the governor, because sometimes the media that spins this through so much that it riles up and polarizes the community. It's not helpful at times. Yeah, it can bring the attention to the general public and hopefully put pressure in the legislature to do something, but we've got to be able to come together. So you just drop all your animosities and let's just come together as one community. I hope that the governor can call these people in and sit down in that big conference room or Zoom. I don't know how it to be done, but we've got good mask system.
Yeah.
But we got to face each other, look each other in the eye, and know that we're heading in the same direction. We just need to be able to stop the fighting, because that's what's happening right now. The community is polarized. I've been trying to allay some fears every day, every evening when people call me because they can't move forward, and they think that I could get them to move forward when my hands are tied just as much as anybody else.
Right, Governor. That's where I want to go to next, is when you talk about the community being polarized. Obviously, on the two sides of this argument, we have, and just recently as yesterday, this action pact that was formed. We've got these protesters who are calling for the reopening of the island. But then on the other side, we see in the comments people putting, simple statements like money over lives. So in your opinion, and like you said, you hear from these business owners all the time, they think they got the in with Uncle Carl to open things up. But do you think that there's a reasonable middle ground between these two polarized sides of this economic argument?
There is a middle ground, and I know that people say that the governor went just too drastic by going from PCOR 3 to PCOR 1. But that's what she believes needed to be done. And now that we are in that last few days of hopefully having it lifted to either go to PCOR 2 or PCOR 3, that there's a way now to like we're helping right now at GVB, getting the message out and getting the community ready and understand what we need to do to be able to say, when we open up the businesses like restaurants and other places and more businesses, that certain protocols that the governor puts out will be followed. I know for most of the businesses that we're doing that, but there's just some that just don't pay attention to that. And So I'm hoping that that middle ground is this last 2 weeks that kind of shook us up would allow those that were guilty of not following the protocol, even weddings and family funerals, they were not paying attention as they should have. I know I went to several funerals and there were some standing outside without their masks, and I kind of avoided them, which is not the Carl Gutierrez that avoiding people, but I had to because it was just not kosher to go there and greet them as I normally would greet people. But there is a middle ground, and the middle ground is that hopefully the governor and the business community particularly, and this new PAC group and the legislature just come in one sitting. Or wear your double mask and come in this one sitting. And when you do that personal interaction, exchange of ideas and exchange of hurts and feelings, you can get things accomplished. I mean, that's what has to be done. And I think the ones that have to drop their guard right now would be the business community. Come in and let's see the governor and let's talk and see what we can do to really actually, in a climate of agreement, come across with some ideas on how to come to the middle ground.
But the governor, doesn't she have her economic recovery panel of advisors, something like that she can talk with, or that they can kind of meet with these business people?
Right.
But that you see, the business community that are not in that economic council feel like they not getting their side of the story in. And so what we're trying to do is get that group in, and maybe they have what it takes to be able to impart to that group of economic advisors that there's a different way to do things. And we just need that sitting down. Believe me, if anything I did as governor in the past was calling everybody in one sitting, facing each other, enemies, political or competitive side of businesses, they're there sitting because whatever comes out good is for everyone. And that's where I think the first thing should come from those that are out in the community, that are adamant against what's going on, to be magnanimous enough to say, Governor, can we sit down? Right. And let's talk in a good climate of agreement.
Gova, and your last, just this response, you mentioned going back to PCOR 2. Do you know something, or is there an announcement?
No. But she's know that we do have our emergency declaration till September 30. But after September 4th, I'm sure that there's going to be a reevaluation. That's what I understood the executive order to be. Right. And today is the 3rd, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I believe the 3rd. So tomorrow, hopefully there's going to be a different protocol, and that's why I'm hopeful that that soon the business community that are up in arms make that first magnanimous gesture to the governor instead of just being on the other side of the fence. Try to come across and get in that one climate of agreement area that the governor can actually sincerely listen to.
We talk about the middle ground, right? So as you said, September 4th, tomorrow, is supposed to be the end of this PCOR 1 lockdown. Do you think that there could be some type of gradual reopening of businesses that are currently closed after this Friday? And what type of reopenings and what types of businesses being able to operate would you support, and do you think the business community would support?
Well, I can't second guess what it is, because like just yesterday we had that 47 again, and we don't know what's today and we don't know what's tomorrow, and so it's hard to second guess. I mean, we haven't been able to get down below the 40s mark here for the last few days, so we can't say what. I know that a lot of that has been the contract tracing and groupings, but we don't know that if we open up the businesses en masse, that it would be good, or it would just exacerbate the situation.
Right. And I think that's interesting as the chief economic advisor that your comments are very guarded and cautious about reopening the island, because you kind of seem to be putting the whole public health aspect of this pandemic before the reopenings.
because the people that I speak with, they're scared, they're fearful. That's the situation, that the miasma that's over this island is fear. And that if you don't get beyond that fear, I don't care what you want to say about opening up the economic side of our island. I mean, you don't even know whether the people are going to go out and do what the business community wants you to do, and going to restaurants. If they're fearful, they're going to stay home. And we got to get that fear diminished or removed completely. That's where the situation is. So it's not necessarily that I'm just thinking about the economic side. No, that right now I'm on the pandemic side, on the health side, because people are scared. Mm-hmm. I'm scared. I'm here at home. I have a little granddaughter that I would never not see every day, and I am not going out there and risk being infected after seeing all these numbers go up. I think it's rampant out there now. It's prevalent out there. And I don't want to go out there. Mm-hmm. Even if you open up your restaurant, I'm not going to go out there, because I want to make sure that when I get home, I want to be able to pick up my little Emmy and kiss her without fear.
So having said that, Governor, I think there were 3 protests last week. When you and you being the hands-on governor that you are, when you see these pictures and you see these images of these business owners protesting out in the streets, did you ever reach out to any of them and call them up and say, hey, slow your roll. We need to heal first. People are out here scared. Nobody's going to go and eat at your restaurant or go to your venue. Did you ever reach out to anybody and tell them to knock it off?
Well, first of all, I think I might be out of my lane on that. I think that the governor has that responsibility, that I don't want to overstep my bounds. But they're smart enough to know that you can push all this pressure you can on the governor that you want. But in reality, sit down and think. I mean, they can think for themselves. They know that even if you pressure the governor to open it up, you may not get the people that you want there. So these people are smart. They know how to protest. They know what they're protesting about. But getting the result is the key. And if you don't, relent and go and see the governor in a better setting than protesting, I don't know what you're going to prove with the protest except polarize the community. The governor needs everybody's hands on right now and everybody's input. And so let's just drop your guards and let's just go in and figure it out together. And I would be able to be, if I was governor, and I don't know whether the governor did or not, but I would face these people directly. And I've done in the past. And I'm sure she's willing to do that. But those people that are protesting and the adamant business people that are against the governor, just drop your guard, please, and see, because she's trying to do what's best for the island. And I think you should participate as well. Mm-hmm. And let's not just be, narrow-minded and in blinders that you only care about yourself, because she has bigger issues to deal with in the community.
Right. And as a former governor, Gov, when you have these very loud, very vocal, very minority groups that are protesting out there, as a governor, how do you kind of weigh those voices with maybe the majority of voices that aren't saying anything and you don't know what they're thinking? So how do you factor in elements like these protesters, elements like this action pack, when you have to make a huge decision by tomorrow about whether or not we're going to extend this lockdown, make it more strict or less strict?
Several people have come to me that are loud voices in the community that are against the protesters. But let me tell you that I had to sort of ask them to please, if you're going to go out there and parry these protesters, it's just going to bring the community more against each other and more polarized. And so, I don't know, except that the governor is not going to fight these people publicly. It's not going to do any good. I know sometimes it's hard to hold your tongue, but those that are really, really angry are the ones that need to relent. And that's all I'm asking, is that, we want to open up the business community. The governor wants to open up the business community. But darn it, let's just figure out how to make it work after you open it up and not go back into another lockdown. I mean, every time they look at us from Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and even in the States, every state that are looking at us, that we keep going back and forth. I mean, like we have no darn, goal and sight, that we keep going from 1 to 3 to 1 to 3. We've got to be able to just come together and I don't know what else to say except that I think the ones that need to be magnanimous right now is probably those that are really adamant out in the business community that they at all costs just open it up without knowing really the real ramifications of what the governor is facing from the other side of the health issue. Wow. But maybe if they see it, and maybe if the health people see it the other way, I think that we might prevent all this suicide that are going on and all these numbers spiking.
I wanted to follow up on something that you mentioned earlier regarding the Guam Visitors Bureau budget of $6 million. Is that what you said? Right, the $6 million.
Yeah, it was nine plus. We agreed at 9 plus million.
What would be? What would be?
I'm sorry.
What would be your response to those who may say $6 million is still is too much, considering the fact that no one? Yeah, I'm just proposing this question, that what would be your response to those who would say that $6 million is too much because no one's really traveling, and the fact that public health, they were shortchanged or they were cut by some $3 million. So why not give more money to public health as opposed to giving
they
to the
did.
VFS?
They took 2.9 million
and gave it to public health.
Well, to put it in the budget, which some of it went to public health.
All right.
But they took it away from us. So we're down to just carrying through pretty much what's there right now as employees and obligations. And so we have to remove almost $7 million for the hot bonds that we have to pay. So those are the things that people don't see, but we have obligations for the TAF money. And those built schools in the past. And what I'm not very happy about was that when we agreed to allow them to remove $2.9 million until April 1st, when we finance our hot bonds in February and save $15 million without further exacerbating the payment schedule. I think that when that was removed because people want it to be in a separate bill, which is going to take another 6 months probably, we've lost the low interest rate that we're facing right now to be able to do that. So, this didn't come from the finance committee, it came from oversight committee. And that's not right. I just don't see it being that way, except maybe to flex your muscle. But if you're facing something like we're facing at GDB with less money to carry us through beyond April 1st, then you've got to step in because we're the ones that's going to hopefully get the economy going before that time.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that then, with the fact that we talk about how healthcare is priority, but public health was gutted $3.7 million in their budget?
I don't know about that. I didn't follow the entire budget. I'm sorry, but I'm sure that my 2.9 million helped to lessen the cut.
So, in other words, you're welcome, public health, coming from Uncle Carl.
Yeah, I don't blame the government. I mean, I don't know what they did in there, but I was Ways and Means Chairman for 6 years. I was for 3 terms, and we've come to really working close with the administration because the majority of the funds are going to the administration and the running of this island, the executive branch. And if you don't work with them and ensuring that when you think that you're wanting this cut because you want to make a political soundbite out there, that is going to help. It's not going to help. Get the executive branch to agree to some of these things because you're not immersed in the daily workings of public health, for example, and that cutting it down just to fit your budget, coming together and balancing out. It's not the way to do it. I mean, I've been a senator for 20 years, and I know that sometimes it's easier to just cut without knowing, but the soundbite is good. Not this time. There's a pandemic out here. The senators should listen to the governor and let the governors tell them where the priorities are in moving this island forward. Mm-hmm. Not just one piece at a time and try to make hay with that.
Gov, this is a question that I asked the chairperson of the Physicians Advisory Group yesterday, Dr. Hoa Nguyen. I told him that, people are out here, they're scared. They're watching what's happening.
They're killing
watching
themselves. They're killing themselves.
they're watching what our government leaders are doing and how they're handling this pandemic. And I asked him, "Are we going to be okay? Are we going to be okay, Governor?"
Yeah, well, first of all, I have a lot of respect for Dr. Wynn, and he has really immersed himself. And every time I reach out to him, it doesn't take more than a minute to get responses from him. He's very concerned, and that's the kind of person you want to listen to, Dr. Jenna Magnolia. These people have their jobs to be able to carry this island forward without dealing them a death sentence. And they're doing what's necessary, but it's hard to say. I mean, this is such a new thing, pandemic. You can't even go and face each other face to face to come to a solution on something. It's unprecedented. We can talk via Zoom or WhatsApp, but it's different. It's different than coming together. And I don't know, but I have a lot of respect for it's a diverse group, the Physicians Advisory Group. I'm a member on there. I listen to these people trying to come to some kind of consensus. And it's difficult because different people have different ideas of what's going on when this pandemic is, even you got the CDC that goes from one decision to another in a matter of hours because they don't know. They don't know. They don't see the real situation except waiting for a month to see what the numbers are.
So are we going to be okay?
We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. Just listen to the governor. Come in and provide your input to the governor in a very respectful, calm way, and no protest. Let's go in there and make your protest in a face-to-face fashion. It gets you more than jumping up and down because, we already know that the protest is out there. Just come in. Be magnanimous. That's what needs to be done here. Magnanimity, if they can find that word from both sides. And let's face it together in a better setting. And you've got to get them into that one setting. Like I said, set the climate of agreement first, that we are going to move forward positively and find the best solution for it. Both sides agreeing.
Gov, when we brought you on this morning, one of the first things you had talked about was this increase in suicides, right? So we have this public health pandemic emergency. We have this economic crisis that a lot of people feel like we haven't even really gone into yet. I mean, people are talking about an economic desert, next year. And now we're facing what looks like, and we know because the crisis hotline has seen, the calls to the crisis hotline the increase is crazy. They used to get maybe a call a day. Now they're getting hundreds of calls.
500 to 600.
500 every month. And we're seeing this increase in the suicide. So as a former governor, how do we give these people the hope that, other than telling them, hey, we're going to be okay, how do we give them the hope? Because, we're seeing our island in so many different ways in these dark times. And to me, when you stick your finger in the air and you have the mental health professionals saying that we're just overwhelmed with the amount of people who are reaching out, who just need someone to talk to, we're overwhelmed with suicides. There's evictions going on or repossessions. People are really hurting. So how do you give them that hope? Because, and going back to what you said, a lot of what we're talking about, what we're experiencing is fear-based. So how do you, continue to tell people, hey, we got to hunker down, we got to wash our hands, we got to stay home, we got to be safe, and it's going to be okay? How do you?
Well, I think your group here has been very, very much in the center of things, trying to not rile people, and so the polarization of the community is where the problem that forces people to do crazy things. And this morning at 3:00, I received first message asking me to help to bring families from California and one from Korea of the one person that committed suicide yesterday. And so been working on that thing, but it's I think that person probably was facing to be out on the streets before long, and he wasn't going to do that. but I can't emphasize this enough, Chris and Sabrina and Jason, that the governor is facing a very tough task, and she's not causing polarization. Polarization is from us out here in the community that are not happy with the decisions she's making, and that and until we get together to understand that there needs to be what's a requirement of what she's doing, and that also we need to bring to her attention what needs to be done out here to mitigate the situation that you just brought up about people that are despondent because they can't get a job, they can't make payments, they're locked in. But until such time that we come together and not be polarized, and hopefully the media will help to sort of mitigate this polarization as you're doing. I mean, I listen to all sides. The way I listen to, sometimes somebody pops up, right? But that's out of your control. And but that's what we need to do. And the governor is, I'm very willing to be able to sit down with these people in that quiet setting, so we can all both come out together with one statement to the community that this too shall pass.
This too shall pass. Be not afraid. But I just see it, Gov, with the numbers and we have these triggers, right? The triggers that are supposed to move us from
PCOR 1 to PCOR 2.
Right. What?
The hospitalizations, the cases, effectively be able to do contact tracing. And I can't remember the fourth one.
Yeah, we're not meeting any of them, basically. We'd fail on all of those. So I just don't see how we could reasonably move from PCOR 1 to PCOR 2 by tomorrow. And I feel like also it's just so, it's got to be tough because we all know that if we're not meeting these triggers, we can't go back to PCOR 2. Mm-hmm. Where's the communication?
I also wonder, what are your thoughts? Do you think that this PCOR 1, what you're seeing outside, because we still see people out there driving around, is it, and we have the stay home order, but is it really strong enough? People are clamoring about, we need just a full on lockdown. Nobody going to the beaches, or go back to what it initially was, nobody going to the beaches and all of that. Do you think it needs to be stronger?
Well, you see them because they're going to go out there and get the essentials they need to live. They're out there for the construction projects are still going on. The grocery stores are still operating, and that's where you see the people. And so it looks like no one's paying attention, but it's a good test that when you go to Payless Market, when you go to Benson, and you see everybody following the actual protocols that are set in place, they want to be open and stay open. And they are very, very much following the orders of the governor. So those people that are out there, that are out there and they're allowed to be out there, and following the protocols, I think it's a good sign for the people to know that this is going to increase the opportunity to be out and from the lockout. And so I think that we have to, I don't know exactly where those numbers are coming from, but from my understanding, it's from clusters and, from families. And so it's not like it's spreading out in the actual community.
Mm-hmm. So you don't think that we should continue to stop no one goes to the beaches for whatever, a week? No one stop the drive-thrus and the takeout, ordering of food?
No, I'm absolutely not. I mean, I just know because these people that wants to stay open are following the protocol. Mm-hmm. And if there's one that slipped through the cracks because he had contracted, and not positive before the incubation period, that's very rare.
What about going back to what I had said about the communication, right? So, in a lot of ways, sometimes I feel like we're on this ride. I mean, we are on this ride where we all know this lockdown is going to end tomorrow, and I just feel like, why isn't there more communication from Adeloop, kind of keeping us posted, because I mean, here we are, it's Thursday, and so many people's lives are hanging in the balance with this declaration that we're expecting. We reached out to Crystal Pacos and Augustine, last week when they extended it. It was on a Thursday, and she was able to come on and say, yeah, so preliminarily, this is what we're going to be doing. And the response this morning was, there's no info. And so do you think we could do a better job with communicating with the public, so that it's not this like, hey, everybody, tomorrow we're going to extend it for another week? Because I feel like there's a huge part of this like dialogue that the public is not getting from the administration.
The advisory groups that advise the governor, the doctors, they're all doing this on their own time. But I think that you're right. I think that there should be a sit down in some fashion to just do nothing but move this protocol forward and move this study forward and make this decision and give out an outlook of what to expect in the next week. I understand what you're saying. And, with this pandemic thing where you cannot just interact, physically, or people to make visits to the offices of the governor, or to have a conference except through Zoom. Sometimes that delays things, Chris. And we just have to hopefully the doctors that are out there that are giving of their time and resources will speed up more of their meetings and add more to their meetings and add more to their studying of what's going on, so that this the decision or the advice given to the governor is more rapid and more numerous than just once a week.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything you think you would have done differently in handling this response?
I wouldn't know. No, that's second guess. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't in there to know everything that the governor has been receiving input on, and I cannot do that because I don't know. I'm only out on the outside looking in.
All right, thanks, Gov.
Yeah, thanks, Gov.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, and keep up the good work. I really love listening to this program.
Thank you, Gov. Be safe. Wash your hands, and so
stay
home.
Safe.
Stay safe. Yeah.
I will. Take care, guys.
Okay.
Stay safe yourself.
Okay, Gov.
Please do what you can as a very, very forward front media guys. Get the people to drop their animosities and work together. That's all I'm asking you to do. Is that you can do it. You guys have a lot of influence.
Thank you,
Try
Gov.
our best. Thanks, Gov.
All right, we'll see you. Former Governor Carl T.C. Gutierrez, very, very engaging and interesting conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I feel for Governor Carl in that I feel like there's a lot of things he wants to say, but he's also got to tippy toe.
Be respectful
of the current governor, so that's always tough, especially because I mean, how do you not have? I mean, he's got the experience. I'm pretty sure. You talk about meeting, the protesters meeting with the gov. I'm pretty sure Governor Carl could meet with Governor Lou, and they could just be like, "Hey, let's go try this. Let's try this. Let's try this." You know what I mean?